It's a whole new territory. Health code revisions as well. Part of this plan, we're very cognizant of the glacial aquifer system as well, and protection from failing septic systems. As we know, there is connectivity down to bedrock as well, but we need to work with the health department, minimum separation distances, because we got a shoreline along Lake Michigan and they're on the glacial sandy soils, and those little cottages are being torn down and bigger mansions are going on the waterfront. We haven't adjusted setback requirements or looked at alternative, more advanced septic system design. So that is a critical item for us to address as well. And then compilation of other things to explore. Road de-icing, as Zach mentioned. Ottawa County, we do have an award-winning road salt management program. We need to take another look at that policy and make sure we're doing that right. Guidelines for stormwater management, working with well drillers on enhancing records, real estate transfer program, new people buy a home, getting our health department in there to look at septic and well system design, and runoff storage solutions. So we have private sector partners that have come to the plate saying, we will work with the county to figure these things out. And that's what we're doing when we're out in the community, is who can help us? Who's knowledgeable? And we're building this into these strategies, and everybody's got to take a piece of it and build this program out. And our framework, or the strategy index, is simply identifying everything that we need to do. And then there's so much in between it. Gray water recycling strategies, important for us as well. Groundwater monitoring network, that will be installed. Hopefully, we need to get some baseline data throughout the county on how we're moving forward. Infrastructure planning and mapping, also incredibly important. I mean, we've had a couple communities right now, they've already banned developments because they're making some adjustments to their zoning codes, requiring connections of municipal infrastructure. Well, Allendale Township did that because they had municipal public water supply. Olive is a rural township. They've got multiple developments that are being proposed. They don't have municipal water where these developments want to go. Moratorium, no one likes that word, but we've got to figure out how to do it right. And getting those folks together for knowledge sharing. And then a future land use plan as well, coordinated across the county with all 24 local units of government. We're getting the planners together. They're all individual. Every community in Ottawa County has their own master plan, their own zoning ordinance. They're thinking with blinders on. We need to expand that thinking, countywide vision. How are we going to grow? How do we need to grow in a sustainable manner? So we're creating that framework on pursuing that plan. And then coordination, how are we going to do this, pulling it together? I know they all go through this book. I just need more support in my office. Right? There's a lot. This is one project of 9+ big projects in our office, so we need more support to make all this happen. And then we want to create, so I've got that executive committee, you remember? We want to formalize that, create a formal technical advisory board of the county. We also want to, and they would help technical support for us, diagnose and solve problems and other advising opportunities. Groundwater Commission, we want to take the task force that was created for the study and formalize it into what we believe will be the very first county groundwater commission in the state, with representation from well drillers, land developers, engineers, local officials, residents. Very important for us. And what does that look like? We've got a county board, county planning commission administration. Here's our office. They support and endorse us. We want to create that groundwater commission. Connected to the advisory board, provides us resources, consultation, leadership. We bring that to partners. Logistical facilitation, we need partners. Then connecting with public. That's how we see this thing having to pull together. And we're always promoting how people need to get involved. That's really, really important for us. And I'd like to pass it over to Megan to talk about their partnership with us on this from a conservation district perspective. Thanks.
Megan Bowes. I'm with the Ottawa Conservation District. I don't have any slides. I just wanted to say a few words about our partnership with Paul at the county and planning and performance. Our partners with the county are really important, and as many of you know, as conservation districts, we work really hard to align our goals and our mission with what the county is doing inside their strategic plan and their master plan. So when this concern and challenge came on our radar, it was something that we started to think more about. We met with Paul and his team about a year ago and started talking more about how we can play a role in some of the solution, whether it be cost share or outreach and education, and how we can be of assistance and what we can do. Of course, that brought up to me, how am I going to do that? How do I have the capacity to do that? Because as all of you know, our operation funds are really low, and I was at capacity. I have enough to run the programs I have, but this is a priority. How can we be involved, and what can we be doing? So we're really lucky as a conservation district to have so much county support, and we every year put together a county proposal requesting operational funding. And we've been doing this for the last 10 years, but the last 5 they've been very involved. And so as I was preparing this proposal, I took a lot more time in understanding what the goals of the county were with the groundwater issues and challenges, and how can I align our direction with that and leverage some more funding for capacity to be able to explore grant funds, partnerships, cost share opportunities, and be part of this solution. And so I put together a proposal and went to the county and talked a lot about our investment they have given us, about what we've been able to return on that investment, how we've been successful and utilizing those funds and responsible. And they were really receptive. And just last Thursday, or last month, we were granted that additional funding to be able to expand our work and be part of this challenge and solution, and start to work together in finding answers. So that's really all I have to add, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how our conservation districts can get involved in their county, and the issues that are important, and just say a few words there. So, thank you.
So we have about 5 minutes left for any questions if you'd like. You guys were so thorough.
Question. Paul, so in your like stakeholder meetings and partnerships and stuff, do you get much pushback from like people that would be like economically affected by changes with like landscaping in residential areas? I'm thinking more specifically of like residential irrigation companies and stuff. I mean, are they concerned?
They're concerned about the issue. They recognize how important it is. And I wasn't sure the reception that we would get when we were invited by the president to the Nursing Landscape Association to present at their annual meeting. Oh man, I'm just going to get beat up. But they came up afterwards, many companies saying, this is great information. We can improve how we do business.
Yeah.
And it's simple things on, they're sharing information with homeowners on how to water excessively. They can tone that back. They don't provide rain sensors when they install a new irrigation system. Simple things. That device is so cheap. I'm like, guys, just make little changes. And so we can still have a viable business, but you can be sensible about it. Promote more drip irrigation and other techniques. As long as the issue's known. It's hard for people to admit. If they do, they're just ousted. I don't want to work with them anyway.
Eventually they won't have any water to irrigate anyways,
Right.
quality water, so it's either do it or you're really not gonna have the option.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that, Paul. I think before the project started, there was some pushback from different parties for sure. But I think the fact that I met with Paul's team once a year, twice a year throughout the whole process, and they could ask questions on how the data was being collected, how the model was being calibrated and verified, instead of waiting until the end of the project and then just sort of trusting us that the data is what it is, right? I think that was really important. And I think the current paradigm is sort of, give the scientists the grant money, they'll report back in 3 years, and there's no connection along the way. But I think that was, for me, it was a really awesome thing to be a part of that. But I think it really helped push people in the right direction in terms of building trust and understanding, how the data was collected, not just reading the data, but understanding the methodology and that kind of stuff. I think was really pivotal. And I would encourage other communities to sort of make sure that we're not disconnecting the science from the policy, and it needs to be integrated throughout the whole process, from what are the problems, how are we collecting the data, et cetera, et cetera. I thought that was pivotal throughout.
Yes, and I'll add to that as well as specifically the well drilling community. There's another industry that drilling wells is their livelihood. And when these reports started coming out, they're like, we've known about this for years. What's the big issue? Well, okay, get around the table. And they were tough, man. They were tough on Zach and his team. They might not have agreed with all the data and modeling, but at the end of the day, we all agreed that there's a problem. And they our well drillers laid out their own maps. We said, okay, if you guys have so much institutional knowledge, let's set you in a room and you map out where there's chloride issues, where there's recharge challenges or recharge ability in the county. They made their own maps. They felt good about it. We laid it over Zach's scientific data and they meshed. And that drove collaboration.
It'd be pretty hard to deny people calling and saying my well is dry.
But yeah, just the fact that they had a chance once a year to question me went a long way. Rather than waiting for the technical report to come out at the end of 4 years, they had a chance to ask questions along the way, and that really helped. I don't want to say convince them, but it helped the dialogue quite a bit, and it helped bring their institutional knowledge to the table. Whereas I think too often we just sort of say, I'm the expert, let me handle this, and that's just not the best way to go about it. So.
Any other questions?
I have one. I guess in terms of not just the recycling of the water and the best practices in reducing usage, more so with the green stormwater infrastructure, do you find, maybe based on examples, not just in Michigan, but through your research, is targeted usage of capturing the water with retention areas, bioswales, that kind of thing, does that have a significant impact on if you put that in the right area to recharge?
100%.
Okay.
Huge opportunities in that space.
Have you done anything in that regard towards this yet, or is that part of the planning process?
Part of the planning. There's great green infrastructure projects occurring just because they're happening. We want to accelerate those types of projects, and then you're right, also put them in the right spots based on all this new knowledge. Yes.
I'm curious about the extraction of water in Michigan for sale, bottled water. They keep hiring the amounts that they're allowed to take. I'm wondering how that has effect. My understanding, I believe, that goes through a reverse osmosis or something before it's actually sold. Is that water being pulled out with high salt content? CL?
It depends where you are in the state.
mean,
Where we have low-lying areas, that's typically where the chlorides are high. Enforcement of groundwater withdrawals depends on impacts on surface water. And so as I showed in one of my slides, we sort of sit on a layered half onion. And so some of those units that produce water are effectively isolated from the surface. And so there's going to be an impact, but there's not an immediate impact on the surface water, and therefore it's okay. We may want to revisit the way that we quantify what's a detrimental impact, because we do use a lot of deep groundwater, but the threshold is basically what's the impact on the surface water, the streams, the first order groundwater fed ecosystems. In terms of water quality, I don't know exactly what they do, but I'm
I
sure
mean,
they.
it seems like there could be indicators where there could be problems if they're pulling water up in wells that they're not concerned that it's drinking quality as it comes out. I don't know, is there some sort of regulation there that they monitor that kind of thing, or?
The Nestle,
Right.
their permit, they're in the glacial system that's 800 feet deep, and they're 400 feet deep, and their well is only like 60 feet deep, and that glacial system recharges so fast. Look at all our rainfall, look at all our snow melt, and like that Zach said, they got that permit because it didn't hit surface waters, but that's not connected to the bedrock formation.
Okay.
Question over here?
My question is for Megan. With the additional funding, what are your exact plans and how to utilize that in a partnership? What are your plans to do?
Sure. So right now it's restricted for that purpose, but the deliverables and how we're going to utilize it has yet to be spelled out. So we're in the very beginning steps. So whether that be for capacity to write grant funds or to do some outreach and education, I'm not really sure, but those will be things that we discuss as we move forward.
Also, so just this past Friday, we had like a local gathering of just people about water quality issues. It's called the Freshwater Summit, and one of the presentations there, somebody was kind of talking about specifically a lake out in Leelanau County, Glen Lake. They were talking about surface water irrigation of like lawns and such of the spring-fed lake, and I was just wondering what your in your knowledge base, like what are the impacts there? Is that like even a good alternative to people irrigating from groundwater versus, it seems better maybe, but then it's also impacting the surface water.
Yeah, the vast majority of lakes in Michigan are groundwater. It's just where groundwater intersects the land surface. So we did a project in southwest Michigan where they put a groundwater well right next to a lake, and they're pumping from the deep aquifer to try to replenish the water levels in that lake. But they were just circulating it. And so lake augmentation is what this is called. That's the technical term, and it's used a lot out west, pumping groundwater into reservoirs to maintain reservoir levels. But in Michigan, our surface water and groundwater is so tightly coupled that I don't think that's an effective way to go about it. It's the same resources effectively, because our water tables are so high, and our lakes and streams are so groundwater fed in this state that when you use water, there's an impact. It's just sort of with groundwater especially, what's challenging is that you don't see the impact. Groundwater contamination is an obvious one. 50 years ago there's a contaminant, and today we're finding out about it. And so the system-based analysis, using all the data at hand, I think is the way to go in terms of getting a grip on what the potential impact might be.
All right, well, thank you folks for attending today. Our time is up. Let's give a hand for our guest speakers.